Okay, more commands. Next one up is sleep. What sleep does is pause for a specified number of seconds. So it has to have a parameter or an argument, and that's the number of seconds that it'll sleep for. So, for example, the following sequence of commands will print the start time, it'll pause for 10 seconds, and then print the end time, essentially. Let's try that. So let's clear this. So let's just try sleep by itself. If you say sleep by itself, well, you need the number of seconds. Let me see what this will do. Oh yeah, missing operand. So if you sleep for 1 second, it'll just sleep and come back. Try small numbers because you don't want to wait for a very long sleep. So you might be thinking, this is what a command that does nothing for a specified number of seconds. Yes, that's exactly right. It's actually a command that does nothing for a fixed amount of time. So sleep 5, we'll wait for 5 seconds, and now that we have our time here, we can actually time it. Sure enough, hey, it's just about 5. I'm not sure what happened there. Should be just exactly 5 seconds. Let's try sleep 2. Oh, I see what it is. So we were off in our timing. So now we have to very quickly hit return and then type in the command. All of that is taken into account. Now we just know it'll be about 23, but we needed some more time to type in the sleep. That's why it's not exactly 3 seconds between them. Okay, so that's fine. So you might be thinking, a command to do nothing for a specified number of seconds, how can that be useful? If that's useful, then I know. Then some of you are thinking, oh yeah, I knew it was always good to do nothing for a while. Turns out we will use this. So next up, we'll be looking at running things in the background. It is useful. Often you'll find it that it's going to be useful to have a command running quote unquote in the background while we use the shell to execute other commands. And the way you do that is you have to type in an ampersand character. It looks like an and, it's called an ampersand character after the command, and what that'll do is execute that command in the background. So for example, in this case it'll execute date, and then it'll sleep and run this in the background. So running things in the background, you have to say right up front that it works best if the command produces no output, because if it does produce output and date does produce output, it gets mixed up with all of the other things that we're using the shell for. So let's see what it looks like. So for example, let's just use sleep by itself. So if you say sleep 4 seconds, you don't get the command prompt back until you're done with the sleeping. However, if you say sleep 4 and then use the ampersand, now you'll get the command prompt right away and sleep will be doing nothing in the background. So you can type in ls and so on, and then eventually after 4 seconds it'll be done sleeping, and you have to hit enter to see that it's done. Okay, so now let's try the more complicated sequence of commands. Let's try sleeping for 10 seconds, semicolon, and then the date again. And if you do this normally, well, let's just do it. You get the date, you sleep for 10 seconds, we just have to wait, and eventually sleep will be done, and that'll be 10 seconds more than this. So yeah, so it's 51 plus 10 is 1812. Okay. Now let's see what happens if you append the ampersand. So something will go into the background. So it turns out the sleep does not go into the background. It's only the date in this case that goes into the background. So eventually there it is, and you got the command prompt back. To do all of this in the background, you have to group them using parens, and now you got the command prompt back, and even though it's still executing nothing in the background, it's still running. Eventually it will be done 10 seconds later, and there it's done. So once again, the difference was if you do this, this runs in the foreground, this runs in the foreground, the date goes in the background. And to fix that, you have to use to fix that, you have to use parentheses to do all of this in the background. Okay. This is so sleep by itself, of course, it's not that useful, and you don't have to put it in the background, right? Putting sleep in the background doesn't really do anything, but what we're really doing is we're simulating the processing of large files. So say you have hundreds of images or thousands of images and hundreds of MP3 files or hundreds of movies. There are lots of commands that process these files, and they take a huge amount of time. So they use complicated signal processing codecs and very time-consuming number crunching, and those things I do this all the time, where I have to process a large file. I just put it in the background, so I have my shell. So now you might be asking, well, can we log out while a program is running? Turns out, sure, if a program is running, we can still log out. The thing is that program gets killed. So the question really is asking, can we log out while a program is running in the background and then have it running even after we log out? Yes, you can do that. You have to use two things. You have to run it in the background, and you have to use the no-hop command. The no-hop stands for no hang-up. So here's how you do it. You say no hang-up, whatever command you want, or sequence of commands, anything you want, separated by semicolons, by pipes, and all of that. And then at the very end, if you have parentheses around them, and you use ampersand, it will run, and it'll run in the background. You can log out of your system. Of course, don't shut the whole system down. You can just end the shell, or if you're in a server, run this in the server and log out, go home, and log in from home and check on the status of this command. That might take a long time. Okay. So the ampersand runs this command in the background, and the no-hop prevents the program from being stopped when the owner of this command logs out. That's you. So ordinarily, if you say command and run it in the background and then log out, this command will be stopped by the system because it says the owner has logged out, therefore there's no reason to continue this command, shut it down. But if you use no-hop, no hang-up, that it still runs in the background. So this is often useful in combination with PS, that is a list of all the processes. Oops. All right, so if you say PS, it shows you that, well, what's running now that belongs to you is PS and bash. There's a bunch of different options you can use to look at what other processes might be running. So you can say PS, A, that is all, and it shows you a lot more. And so this is all the commands that belong to you. These are all my processes. If I use F, I can see even more. And X gives me all of the processes that are running, regardless of who the user is. And the F gives you, actually it tells you that, for example, this PSAXF that I just executed is running under bash, which is itself running under GNOME terminal, which is this window. And yeah, okay. So that's PS. Notice one of the things that we'll use fairly soon is that each one of these processes, each one of these things, and let's just see that in PS AF. AF is a good one because, for one thing, note that there are many bashes running because there are many login commands running. These are all things that you'll find on the live DVD because by default, as soon as you boot up using the live DVD, you have a whole bunch of background terminals running. Normally we don't execute them, but if you use Control Alt F1 or Control Alt F2 or Control Alt F3, you'll see these things, and use Control Alt F7 or 8, I believe, to come back to the graphical user interface. One thing to note is that all of these, although they are bash, they have different process IDs. You can get some idea of when this was started by the process ID by looking at the process IDs. For example, the last command I ran had the process ID 3837. This is probably the latest command. If I do another ps AF, I'll see the same picture but with a new process ID, because this is a new run of this command. Although it's the same command, it's a new instance of that process, new instance of that program running. So sure enough, here is 3839. So try this. Convince yourself that you are seeing a different process each time you run a program. Okay, so now let's try this. No hub. And what can I do? I can just want to say date, sleep, and I'll sleep for 20 seconds so I have enough time. And date, and run it in the background. And what I will do is I will start up a new terminal so that I can monitor what happens. What I'm going to do is zoom in once, zoom in again, so that you can see it. All right, so there. So what I will do is run this. Oops, what did I do? All right, maybe I can't do all of that. So maybe I'll just have to switch to just doing the sleep. Okay, so it's running now. What I'll do is it's running for 20 seconds. If I do a PSAF, in here I see the sleep. Okay, so now let's exit from here, and now let's take a look in here and do a PSAF again. And I am actually not sure that it worked. It looks like I might have killed it, or maybe I ran out of time. But try this. Try using a no hop sleep, and I think this should work. Go with 60 seconds and do the ampersand and close this shell. Normally, if you do sleep 60 without the no hop, it should disappear. And if you do it with the no hop, sleep 60 and run it in the background, it'll stick around even after you kill the shell. So try that and let me know how it works out.